Hi, my name is Oscar and I'm a scientist. In this video, we're going to cover the Visa Bulletin for October 2023, which is the first Visa Bulletin of the fiscal year 2024. Yes, for USCIS, the year starts in October, the fiscal year, okay? And that's the way it works when it comes to the quota of green cards. They have a certain number of green cards, 240,000 for the employment-based categories, and that quota goes from September to October each year. So many people give a lot of importance to this Visa Bulletin, and we'll see that unfortunately there's not a lot of changes, and the few changes we have, they're not great. There's some advancement in some categories, and for Indian nationals, they have some bad news in a certain way. We're going to cover that. But first, let me remind you that in this channel, we always talk about green card categories in which you can self-petition. And that means that you can be the owner of your process. You don't have to have a job offer, and you can even choose to do it without lawyers if you want to. So let's go back to the topic and let's move to my other screen so you can see how this Visa Bulletin website looks like. You only have to Google Visa Bulletin and click on the first result and you will get into this travelstate.gov website. It's an official website, and we always have the current Visa Bulletin on the left side. September 2023 is the month we're in right now. And then we, at a certain time that nobody knows when exactly, they release the upcoming Visa Bulletin. Today is the 15th of the month. We were eagerly waiting for this, and they just released the Visa Bulletin for October. We're going to open each one of these, September and October, in different tabs, and I'm going to be moving from one to the other so you can really see what are the changes very easily. Like I was saying, this is going to be the first Visa Bulletin of the fiscal year. People had very high hopes that all of a sudden the dates would advance a lot because new visa numbers are available. However, I always caution people saying that USCIS and the Department of State, usually what they do is they try to smooth out those big changes. They try to estimate how many people are applying or expected to apply. They know how much of the quota is left for them to use in terms of visa numbers they can use based on the mandate from Congress. And then they try to do it in a way that there's never like a huge change. Sometimes there are changes, but for the most part, they do a pretty decent job in doing things in a smooth way. Okay, so let's go back and let's start getting into the matter. So first thing, what we do is we go all the way down. Once we get into the Visa Bulletin, we pass the family-based green cards and we get to the employment-based preferences. There's an explanation of the quota system, and then there's two charts. We typically give more priority to Table A because Table A is typically used for adjustment of status, but also for those of you who are interested in consular processing, for you, Table B is typically said to be more relevant. However, I caution you again because unless you are current based on Table A, you will not get a visa number regardless. Okay, you may be able to do certain parts of the process. You may be getting the welcome letter, and you may be able to send your civil documents and all that. But until you don't get your priority date current based on this table, you will not be able to finish the process anyway. So that's why I put so much more focus on Table A. So I opened Table A in September, and now we're going to do the same with October. So now we have a very easy way to compare both of them. So let's start with EB1. EB1 is the highest category. And in EB1, we have EB1A, which is one of those green card categories in which you can self-petition. If you want more information about that, go to eb1greencard.info and check it out. In September, we were close to current for most countries. The first column here is most countries except China and India. And we had a date there of August 2023. So virtually that was already current. And what happened in this month is that they already put a C there. C means current, And when you see a C, it means that anyone can file an adjustment of status. You can even file concurrently an I-140 and adjustment of status at the same time. Okay, so that's the best case for anyone to see. If you have a C, then it cannot get better than that. Okay. So, but what happens with other countries that are typically or were typically not current lately? So, China had a date of February 2022, and now it goes to 15th of February 2022. So, there's 15 days of advancement. It moves in the right direction, but it's not a big movement. It's just 2 weeks, okay? There's still a wait time there. You see that more than a year of wait time that anyone would have to do. If you are from China, you would have to wait those more than a year, February, a year and a half actually, or more, to between you file your I-140 and your adjustment of status. What happens with India? Okay, India is a special case because India, we had recently a huge retrogression in EB1 from almost current or almost, very close to current to 2012. It was a big surprise, and it happened because they basically ran out of visa numbers. But they said, okay, we'll probably go back to almost current in October when the fiscal year starts all over. However, unfortunately, what we see is that it did move in the right direction from 2012 to 2017, but 2017 is still 6 years of wait time, okay, for Indian applicants for EB1. So EB1 was really the hope for Indian applicants when it comes to merit-based green cards. As we will see in a second, EB2 for Indian applicants is not great because there's also a lot of wait time, more than 10 years actually. And EB1 had traditionally been the best way for an Indian-born citizen to get the employment-based green card. And now we are seeing that, unfortunately, we are not getting there. There's still a very significant backlog here. Okay, so let's move now to EB2. EB2 is a category in which EB2 NIW, or National Interest Waiver, is a part of. And that's another green card category, a very popular one, in which you can self-petition. So in EB2, during the whole past year, we were seeing that the backlog had been increasing until in the recent 2-3 months, we start seeing things moving again in the right direction. So in September, we had a date of July 2022, which means that there's slightly more than a year of a backlog. So we go from July 1st, 2022 to July 8th, 2022. So really literally 1 week of advancement. This is not great news because typically we want to see at least 1 month of advancement, which corresponds to the 1 month of real-time advancing since September to October Visa Bulletin. So this is a slowdown, and definitely this is, I know, not what many of you expected. You had very high hopes that this October Visa Bulletin would bring a big change, and this is unfortunately not happening. What happens with China and India? So China had a date of 8th of July 2019, and now it goes to October 2019. So this good news is about 3 months of advancement in the right direction for China, okay? It's still a few years of backlog, but they are moving in the right direction. What happens with India? India was in 1st January 2011, and now it moves to 1st January 2012. So 1 year of a jump in the right direction for India, but still from January 2012 to now there's more than a decade of wait. So we cannot be extremely happy because the situation is still not good at all for Indian applicants in the EB2 category. So if we go to table B, for both of those categories, the situation is more or less similar. So let me do that really quickly. And we'll see that, for example, for EB1, all countries were already current. They continue to be current. China moves from June to August 2022 for EB1, which is good. And India moves to June 2022 and retrogresses to July 2019. So those table A and B for India starts now converging, and that makes sense. Okay, they will tend to get closer. For EB2, table B shows that in September we had December 2022 for EB2, and now we move to January 2023. So almost the same, a little bit better than table A, but more or less the same. China for EB2 moves from October 2019 to January 2020, and India for EB2 moves from May 2012 to 2 weeks later. Okay, so very similar situation. And as a reminder, table B refers to those of you who are in consular processing, is where you will start that process, start submitting your documents. But remember that until your date is not current based on table A, most likely not, you won't get your visa number, you will not get called for an interview, and you will not complete the process. So that's why I put a lot of focus on table A, okay? That's the reason. You asked me that a lot in the comments, which is good, and that's the reason that happens. Before we finish the video, I also check the footnotes, and this is something that you should always do, okay? Because sometimes there's good information there about what USCIS and the Department of State are thinking about, and in this case, there's not a lot of information. They just say that final action dates across employment-based visa categories have advanced, which is true for most of them. And that reflects the new visa numbers available for the new fiscal year. Like I was saying, we are moving into 2024. So this advancement reflect an intention to keep visa issuance within quarterly limits in accordance with the law, with potential date advancements throughout the fiscal year. However, actual date movements will depend on visa demand and issuance patterns throughout fiscal years 2024. So like I was saying, not a lot of information. What they are saying is dates are advancing because we have more visa numbers to give. We are starting a fresh fiscal year. We have to adhere to the quarterly limits. They not only have a cap on a certain fiscal year, they also have, based on the law, quarterly limits, okay? So they cannot just go crazy at the beginning and give out all the numbers they have. And then they are saying, we will continue to monitor the situation. We will see how many people keep applying for adjustment of status, and based on that, dates will move in one way or the other. So as usual, in order to know more about what's going on, each month you need to either come here and see me talking like you are now, or on your own go and check the Visa Bulletin so you can understand how the situation is evolving and how you may get good news soon, or you will still have to wait. So now is the turn for you. What do you think about this news? Were you hopeful that dates would be advancing way more and you are now a little bit sad about this, or you already knew that things were not going to change that much? Leave me a comment below, any question you have, and share this video with anyone that may benefit from it. From me, the only thing that is left is to invite you to check out my websites. EB1greencard.info is about the higher EB1 green card, EB1A for extraordinary ability applicants, and EB2 NIW info or EB2 NIW Español.info is a website about the National Interest Waiver Program, the second employment-based green card category that is so popular. In both of these websites, EB1 and EB2 NIW, I have a course for you where you can learn what are the requirements, how to fulfill those requirements, and how to craft all the documents you need to prepare a successful petition for either EB1A or EB2 NIW. So without further ado, I thank you for your time as usual. I wish you good luck. I hope the dates will continue advancing throughout this year and more people can get the permanent residency status in the United States. Thank you.